Hey, how's it going everybody? My name is Bearded Biddy, and tonight we're going to be cooking Arroz con Pollo. Now that is the very first and very last time that you're going to hear me roll my R's, so don't get too excited. I'm not a pro at it. So basically this is just chicken and rice, as the name suggests. However, it's generally chicken, in this case bone-in, skin-on chicken thighs that are going to be braised in a mixture of tomato sauce and chicken stock, which will also have the rice cooking in that entire mixture. Now the best thing about this recipe is it's all just cooked in one pot, so fewer dishes to clean, as well as all the flavors tend to meld together better. The ingredients list as well as the recipe will be typed out below as per usual. Feel free to follow along, and if you're willing to join in and cook along with me in the video, let's go. Alright, so our first step is going to be seasoning the chicken thighs. We're going to do this with a rub composed of just salt, onion powder, garlic powder, and lemon pepper seasoning. If you don't have the lemon pepper, I would just substitute in a little bit more salt. It's not necessary, but it does add a nice little acidity. So all I've done to these chicken thighs so far is I've patted them down with a paper towel to get off as much moisture as possible. This will aid in browning as well as the seasoning sticking. And then I also have my saute pan preheating on about medium heat. So that'll go up, and we don't need a lot of oil here because a lot of fat will actually render out of the chicken skin and fat itself. So we just have a little bit there to slick it up is all. Alright, once your pan is preheated and you've rubbed in all that seasoning as much as you can, we're going to go ahead and put the chicken thighs on, but it's important that you start it skin side down. We're going to be doing each side for about 3 minutes to get a nice browning on each side. We're not looking for it to get anywhere near cooking through. Alright, now while that's rendering away, we're going to get started off on the onion and garlic. Alright, so just to show you, this is really what we're looking for as we cook down the chicken thighs. It'll come off really easily off the pan, hardly any sticking, if at all. And then really on that other side, we're looking for that nice golden brown. The skin's starting to pull away from the meat a little bit just because it's starting to cook through. And as it cooks, it'll actually contract a little bit, but that's completely what we're looking for. So I'm just gonna flip all these bad boys over, put them for another 3 minutes on the second side, and then we will be set to go. And 3 minutes later, we now have our chicken thighs nicely browned on both sides. We're gonna take those and remove those off to the side. And then once we get those to the side, we're actually gonna add all of the rice directly into the pan with the fat that's in there. And you can drain off a little bit if you'd like to, but I generally don't have a lot of fat left over on this. And so this rice has been rinsed and then drained as best I can. It doesn't have to be completely dry, but we're gonna take that rice, again, drained as much as we can, make it a little maraca, and we're gonna put that all into the fat. And that'll just saute by itself for a little bit. You'll hear it get a little toasty, might pop a little bit with the moisture. But yeah, we're just gonna mix that around in the fat, let it get all toasty, a little bit brown. And part way through, I'll go ahead and add in the garlic. All right, now that I can smell it getting just a little bit toasty, I'm gonna go ahead and add in the garlic. And now after it being in there for just about a minute or so, not too long, we're gonna add in the chicken stock and tomato. Now I am using how much I know is left in this chicken stock, and I'm just eyeballing the amount of tomato, but feel free to measure it out for yourself. Now while that's working its way up to a simmer, we're going to turn up the heat to about medium-high or so. Don't need to be too high, but we do want to work its way up to a simmer. And we're going to be adding in a little bit more salt directly into the mix instead of what's on the chicken. Just a little bit of onion powder. Again, I'm just eyeballing all of this, but feel free to measure it as you wish. A little bit more garlic powder. And then the one thing that wasn't in the original chicken rub is a little bit of cumin, just a tiny bit. That came out very slowly. Don't worry, I wasn't pouring that whole thing in. And then now while we bring that up to a simmer, we're gonna go ahead and scrape away at the bottom like I talked about in the previous video. We're gonna try and scrape away at the fond on the bottom, get all that flavor up. But until that comes up to a simmer, we're just gonna be waiting. All right, now that it's worked its way up to a simmer, we can turn the heat down a little bit, and we're gonna add in the onions, and then I'm gonna put all the chicken thighs in skin side up. I'll show you that, and then we'll work from there. All right, now we've added the chicken thighs back in there and mixed in all the onions. Remember, skin side facing up, and and we have the skin completely uncovered. If your skin is covered, then you definitely have too much liquid. Now the next step is going to be very, very complicated. So basically you're going to want to slap a piece of glass on there with some metal, and we're going to let it sit there simmering on a much lower heat. Now that we know that it's already up to simmer and it's covered, we can turn it down to quite low, about medium low, and we're going to let it sit there for 20 minutes covered. Now you don't want to touch it, you don't want to open it, because same as when you're cooking rice, because there is rice in here that's cooking, of course, you'll completely ruin its cooking. So you want to leave it completely covered, don't touch it for 20 minutes. All right, it has now been simmering and cooking through for about 20 minutes now, completely covered, didn't touch it once. And then now the next step is going to be even more complicated than the last. We're going to look up at the top of the oven. We're going to twist the knob to off, completely off, and then we're going to leave it covered, again, not touching it whatsoever, for another 10 minutes. This will let the rice cook all the way through and the chicken cook all the way through and everything just reach that final state of beauty. So yeah, we're just going to let that sit for 10 minutes and don't touch it at all. All right, and here is the finished product. Again, another 10 minutes of sitting with the heat completely off. Now we can go ahead and take the lid off finally and see that absolute beauty on the inside. So you should see not really any liquid left over. You just want to see pretty much cooked rice and cooked chicken with the onions and everything, but you don't really want to see any extra liquid, or else that tells you probably added a little bit too much or maybe didn't have the heat quite high enough. So now I'm going to go ahead and serve. All right, everyone, so this is the cooked and finished and plated arroz con pollo. Yes, I know I said I would only roll my R's that one time, but I lied, sorry about that. But yeah, so it looks like my past self has already gotten me a bite ready, knowing that I would only have one hand free, but oh my God. That was way hotter than I was expecting. Don't make the same mistake I did, but it was still absolutely delicious. It should be well seasoned all the way through. Both the rice and chicken should have flavoring all the way through. So yeah, it turned out absolutely fantastic. Stick around for more videos in the future. And again, I stream on Twitch for mainly Rocket League, and I'll be following up with more videos like this. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a fantastic night.